Imagine this. You come home after a long day at work, open the kitchen door, and the first thing that hits you isn't the smell of dinner, but a sharp, sour odor wafting from the trash can. That smell creeps into every corner, signaling that something inside is rotting, breaking down. Have you ever experienced that? I believe most of us have sighed at least once when facing that unpleasant moment. And the funny thing is, those exact scraps that make us cringe every day can actually turn into brown gold. A fertilizer so good that just a handful can make your vegetables grow as if they've been supercharged. I once met a young couple living in a small apartment in the middle of the city. Every day, they tried their best to live sustainably, avoiding plastic bags, growing a few pots of herbs on their balcony. But their kitchen waste held them back. Every 2 days, the trash bin stinks, and we're fed up, the husband told me. So I asked them a question that I want to ask you today. Have you ever considered that the real problem isn't how much waste you produce, but how you handle it? The moment you start composting, things begin to change in a surprisingly natural way. But to truly turn waste into fertilizer, you need to understand how microbes work. It sounds complicated, but trust me, it's simpler than you think. I always describe a compost pile as a living machine. And from my own experience, once you grasp a few core principles, you'll succeed. Chop and layer, the secret that helps microbes eat faster. I remember teaching an older couple in the suburbs how to compost for the first time. The husband came to me, puzzled. Why does my compost never break down? The lettuce stems and cabbage leaves are all still intact. I gently asked, "Did you cut them up?" He laughed. "No, I just tossed everything in whole." Microbes aren't like us. They don't have teeth. They don't have hands. All they can do is attach themselves to the surface of your materials and start decomposing. So when you chop up vegetable stems, fruit peels, or dried leaves, you're giving them more surface area to work on, more doors for them to enter the house. But chopping isn't everything. Layering is just as important. Every time you add new material, remember the rule I always tell my students: 1 green layer, then 1 brown layer. Greens, veggie scraps, coffee grounds, banana peels provide nitrogen. Browns, dry leaves, shredded cardboard provide carbon. When these two components are balanced, your compost won't become soggy, won't smell bad, and definitely won't turn into a fruit fly breeding championship. Have you ever opened your compost bin only to see fruit flies explode out like fireworks? If you have, you know exactly how horrifying that feels. The carbon-nitrogen balance solves that problem beautifully. In other words, the brown layer is like a dry towel, absorbing excess moisture, keeping the pile airy, and giving the compost that forest soil fragrance we all love. Know when to stop? Don't keep adding forever. One of the most common mistakes beginners make is endlessly adding more waste. Today it's veggie scraps. Tomorrow, coffee grounds, the next day, wilted leaves, and you think it will magically decompose somehow. But the truth is, once your compost has reached the right size, you must stop. Let the pile rest. Let it cook. It's like making rice. You can't keep pouring more grains into the pot once it starts boiling. Let it finish, then make a new batch. And many people ask, but what do I do with new kitchen waste? Simple. Start a second pile. This is exactly what large farms do. They always have 2 or 3 compost piles at different stages to optimize time. Green materials you should and shouldn't use. People often ask, can I throw any kitchen waste into compost? And my answer is always, not everything is food for microbes. What you should use: veggie scraps, crushed eggshells, coffee grounds, banana peels. These are nitrogen-rich and help the compost heat up quickly. What you must avoid: meat, oils, fats, dairy. They create horrible odors and attract rats, flies, and other unwanted guests. Also, avoid plants that reproduce through roots, like mint or pennywort, and fruit scraps with resilient seeds, like tomatoes, cucumbers, or peppers. Their seeds are incredibly stubborn. They can sprout in the compost and turn into weeds when you spread it in the garden. Ever seen a tomato plant suddenly pop up in the middle of your lettuce bed? If you have, you know exactly what I mean. Turning the pile, a small action that speeds everything up. A lot of people think composting is just toss stuff in and wait. But if you don't turn the pile, it becomes like a tightly packed dumpling. No air, slow decomposition. I once tested 2 piles. One never turned, one turned every month. The difference was huge. The turned pile finished almost twice as fast, smelled better, and had a fluffier texture. Microbes need oxygen to live. When you turn your compost, you're pumping air into it, supercharging the microbial activity. I always ask beginners, do you want your compost to mature in 2 months or 5? They always choose 2. Then don't forget to turn it. How to know your compost is ready. Many people struggle with this, but I always tell them, you don't need high-tech tools, just your eyes and your hands. Finished compost will have a chocolate brown color, a crumbly, fluffy texture, only a few drops of water when squeezed hard, a pleasant forest soil smell. If you've ever walked into a forest and taken a deep breath of that cool, earthy scent, that's what good compost should smell like. That's the gold standard. The AI era. Composting is no longer hard. Years ago, composting required patience, but today, AI-powered devices have changed everything. Smart composters like the Wrinkle machine use algorithms to adjust oxygen, temperature, and moisture in real time, reducing decomposition time from weeks to just 24 hours. I once let a young family try one. They couldn't believe it. No smell, no flies, and by the next morning they had a powder-like fertilizer ready to use. For busy people, apartment dwellers, or absolute beginners, this the perfect solution. Compost. Feeding plants, feeding the soil, feeding your family. Do you know what touches me the most about composting? It's not the reduction in waste. It's the way compost rebuilds healthy soil, so rich and alive that plants grow naturally, full of nutrients. When soil is full of microbes, it holds water better, it stores minerals longer, it reduces the need for chemical fertilizers. Homegrown vegetables become richer in enzymes and antioxidants, nourishing your family in the most natural way. One of my students once told me, ever since we used compost, my daughter eats more vegetables because they taste sweeter. To me, that was the greatest gift. Do you see things more clearly now? From a smelly trash bin, we create a valuable resource. From things once considered useless, we revive our garden and ourselves. When I look back at the journey of turning waste into compost, I always realize something beautiful. The biggest changes begin with the smallest actions. A chopped vegetable peel, a handful of dry leaves added at the right time, a gentle turn of the pile, and piece by piece, we make not just our kitchen cleaner, but our whole environment healthier. Composting can reduce 70 to 90% of your kitchen waste and return something precious to the earth: life. When the soil thrives, plants thrive. When plants thrive, your family eats better. And when you see seedlings rising from scraps you once wanted to throw away, you'll understand that living green isn't distant. It begins right in your kitchen. If you're feeling inspired today, start with a small bin, a few handfuls of dry leaves, and some organic scraps. You'll soon find yourself on a beautiful journey. A journey of nourishing the soil, the plants, and your own life. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to join me on this green living journey, please subscribe to the Compost channel so you don't miss the next stories.